getting on with him anyway in the first place. And then all of a sudden, like, her morals have been compromised, and it's just very strange. I assumed that would have been something that you might, that she would have felt guilty about, yeah. But the fact that now it's going to lead to other events that happen with her, it was a little bit confusing. It's almost like they said we need a female character in this, and they had to create this whole story arc here that would eventually lead to where she ends up in this game.
Yeah, I kind of get that feeling as well. But yeah, we didn't get that what we spoke about earlier with the whole pen gun in that guy's back. I guess it's a funny bit on the film. And then they kind of break to this. What is she? She's like the number one fan. Mrs. I can't remember her name, but it was like Mrs. McClough or something like that. And he goes over there. She's like this old time fan who's probably been sitting there for for the last 20 years watching this game show. She's loving it. She's the number one fan, and then they play this like BT, I guess, like something you'd get now. We'd call it like that, a kind of vignette of what's been going on, and they say, watch that screen, and we get this whole edited version of the whole what went down of the Butcher of Bakersfield and all the rest of it, and Arnold's great lines. They don't get any better either. Even the editing can't help his lines in this one, because it's still pretty bad, and it's like, the hell with you. And the one thing I kind of was fascinated about watching this back, I was like, where the hell did those cameras come from? How did they get in that shot in front of his face like that, and then turns to his buddy? Because the way they shoot it is, it's like you're supposed to be watching it like that, like we're watching it like the film. All of a sudden they've got as good as camera angles as well in this helicopter. So that was kind of a thing I was always like, well, how's that happen? But, they must just have such good advanced equipment. They can do this stuff. So I'm not going to argue with that too much at this point. But yeah, this old lady, she's there. I mean, and she plays like, she's got some good lines in this film. She's kind of one of the more memorable things of the film. Do you remember her? Did you watching this back? Did you remember all about this? Because all my friends used to say, "You got to see this film. There's this woman. She says these great lines. She's really, this old lady. It's hilarious and all the rest of it." It was kind of the talking bit. Do you remember this part about it, Matt?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, I mean, it's one of those moments that stick out in the film in my mind, because it is interesting just to see what the portrayal is of people living in the future, what their opinions are, and this bloodlust that people just seem to have, that they would enjoy just going to a game show just to see people get murdered.
Yeah, and they then introduce Ben Richards to the show and reveal the iconic Running Man suit. Now, we haven't spoke about like the suit that they get, Matt, but like that suit is quite iconic now. Like if you see it, I've seen it like here, there, and everywhere. I've seen it even in wrestling games where you can get that suit up. But one thing I only noticed this last time I watched it, Matt, was that the Adidas logo was on his sleeve. I didn't notice that. I don't know why I never saw that. Because I used to always be buying Adidas gear, and I would have thought I would have definitely have seen that, but I only noticed it like recently when I watched this back. Don't know if you saw that, Matt, but the costume designer guy, like, think of how that looked. Well, this guy, he had been working on things like Star Trek, so that's probably why we got that look. But I mean, it looks kind of crazy. I mean, to anyone else that's probably seen this film for the first time, you probably go, "What the hell is he wearing?" But it's an iconic look for the film, Matt, isn't it? It's like something you don't really look at twice anymore because it is what it is. But what was your take on that yellow kind of and the grey bits down the side and all the rest of it, and the fact they did even have Adidas on there?
I think it was brilliant design. I mean, I didn't notice the Adidas on it. That was very observant. I didn't see that. But the way that it looks, I mean, I see game shows now with people wearing like similar stuff to that. Yeah. So it was quite visionary at the time to actually suggest that they would be in a skin tight bodysuit like that. Yeah. But the fact that it's yellow, I mean, I'm assuming that's just a cheat for the hunters there, so that they'll be easily spotted.
Yeah. And the producer, he's out there, and Killian at this point, he's introduced him. And all the rest of it, he's kind of standing up there. They've shown the tape and all the rest of it. So yeah, they introduced him, and then of course the reveal comes that I love the way Killian does it. He's like, he's just saying like, oh no! Before we get to that, a really funny shot of these supposed past winners, the only three that have ever survived. Where he says, "Look up at that screen at our past winners. We've got Whitman, Price, and Haddad, or something like that." And by the way, the last one, I think he is Haddad. He never had a woman with him. The others had two each. What's going on there? That made me laugh. They were all waving, smiling on this desert island somewhere, but Haddad, he did not have a woman at the end of his one. That made me chuckle. I was thinking, why can't they share him out a little bit more? But yeah, they've got women on their arms, so they're trying to show that there is a chance that you can get past this. But one thing that is mentioned in this that I guess is overlooked because they don't really mention it other than I think this moment in this line is Killian explains where they're going to be going and all the zones they come from. Apparently, this part of Los Angeles that had this huge earthquake in 1997. He says. Did you pick up on that, Matt? Is that anything to do with the book at all? Did they mention an earthquake or stuff like that, or where this is coming from?
That's another interesting thing, another different direction they took with that, because I assume like they've done this because like they can say it's a closed kind of set, and then you can just do whatever you want and create mayhem in that area. But in the book, it's just pretty much you go down the elevator, hit the street level,
right,
and then it's free game. Go wherever you can go, and then they'll hunt you down. Which is really kind of like good thinking there, because I've seen a show over here recently where they put some people on the street as fugitives, and they have no info on them, and then their job is just to track them down. And when you see how they really do that, sometimes it can be quite easy to find someone. So the fact that they had that site to see that was pretty good, because like it is true to life now, and how we track criminals, and just how like easy it can be unless you're dealing with someone particularly smart, and they can avoid it. Also, I think the time limit for their one was a whole month. You have to avoid detection for a whole month. Right.
Yeah. So it kind of makes sense of the book, I think. But in this sense, it's a broken up earthquake somewhere, and they're just using all this land kind of as using it as their zones and what they call it. And then you get this really good part by Killian where he says, "Well, we didn't want to break up a winning team, man. We've got your buddies, Harold Weiss and William Lovren." And you see these two guys. Now, I love the way they look really uncomfortable in their kind of chair thing. They're like strapped down in this caged thing that you know is going to fly down. Theirs looks worse than Arnold's at this point because they do not look comfortable. They're like at an upright vertical position. And I love the way they show that. And then, of course, they cut to Ben Richards, who gives that line saying like, "You bastard," or something like that. Typical Arnold line. And yeah, I mean, I think we all knew that was going to be the case anyway, even if you was watching it for the first time. But I liked the idea of how that come across. And then, of course, Killian announces without further ado, it's time to start running, and he does that whole on your marks, get set, and then of course Richard butts in, and then the line comes, Matt. Of course, the classic Arnold, "I'll be back." You knew it was coming in somewhere, but I love this return line from Killian where he says, "Only in a rerun." That was brilliant. That matched it to me. That was like, at last something's come along where there's a little bit of a good throwback line to him, and I guess he got a few chuckles at the time. I think it was a good call. I know it's a little bit cheesy, but I think it suited at that point. Arnold's going to throw it in there somewhere. That's what he's known for. He's using it every which way he can in films, and he obviously wanted to get it in here. But I like the idea that they gave a good retaliation line by Killian by saying that, because it just made it a lot more better. And of course, then he gets blasted down the shaft. But that is going to be for a good time, Matt, the last face to face we get between those two. And like I said before, I'm kind of like gutted that we didn't get more of them two involved. Even as a dialogue kind of thing, like maybe not just straight in front of each other, but other stuff going on between them. But I feel like their chemistry could have been even better than just those little one-liners with each other. Because I think up until this point we'd never seen Arnold against somebody like a Killian, somebody who's just an old guy. He's not physically strong, but he's just like a corporate arsehole, in other words. And we hadn't really seen that from Arnold, how he deals with that. So I think it gave a different dimension there in their relationship. I think if you'd have got another guy physically strong, maybe like Jesse Ventura, if he'd have been cast in that role, I'm not sure it would have worked out so well, because in this context you see a really different dynamic between those two. But at this point, Matt, like Killian, who's still in the show? Is it more Killian this time round you watching it, or is it Arnold?
Yeah, it definitely is. I mean, he's got bags of charisma in it, and the fact that it's just so natural, just be yourself, pretty much, in a sense. It's just, you can't go wrong. And it was interesting what you said about that quote. I mean, I think, to my memory, that's the only time I've ever seen someone come up with like a retort to one of his cheesy one-liners.
Yeah, it was about time, and it was a good throwback as well. Only in a rerun, made perfect sense. At this point, we're 40 minutes, and finally, this game is underway through this film. And of course, there's this now. I don't know what the hell this thing is, but this tunnel thing. It's obviously been sped up. But to be fair, it doesn't look too bad. I mean, it's not dated badly, considering where they were going. Like, it doesn't look too bad. I know they keep cutting back to the studio, and they're trying to show that there's cameras in there and stuff like that, like they're properly tracking them. But it didn't do too bad. I think it still holds up well. What did you think of that? Because it's kind of one of the iconic things about the Running Man is that whole tube thing that they're being thrown down with sparks coming out the back of it at a ridiculous speed. Is that still good for you, Matt? Did you like that part in the film?
Yeah, I definitely like that bit, and it's very unique. I've never seen something like that in another film. Yeah. And interestingly, it's like one of the things they did better than the book, because that's not in it. This is just pure The Running Man on VHS at the time. Yeah. This was their idea, and so they could come up with some good ideas, brainstorming around that table about how to make this game show a little bit more exciting, and how they would inject the contestants into the arena. Sure. Just not by any normal standards, that's for sure. Yeah.
Now, I've got a question for you, Matt. When Richards lands and he gets out, he's surrounded by a bunch of guys who are just chanting and whacking his cart. And who are they? Are they supposed to be? They just sort of shuffle him into the zone he's supposed to be going to? Do they work for Killian? I mean, or do they just live down there? I didn't get that part. Like, they didn't really explain who they were at all, and every time I watch it, I get different feeling, vibe off it. Is there anything of them in the book, or anything that different to me in this film? Who these guys are?
No, that's definitely a mystery to me, that one as well. I mean, it could be anything, couldn't it? It could be people who are down there, just to shepherd him in the right direction, or like I said, it could just be people down their luck living in this area, which is supposedly deserted. I mean, I'm guessing it could be that.
Yeah, I have no idea. And then, of course, we break to a shot where Amber gets caught looking in the files, and she's going to get caught. And then we get... I love this. Now, this is really good. This is one of the best things they do in the films, because this is exactly what happens on game shows. Trust me, our mutual friend, I'm going to say his name, Rob, we definitely watch our fair share of game shows, Matt, so we know how game shows are presented. But this whole thing when Killian's in the crowd and he's asking, "Okay, Edith Wiggins, come on down." And she comes down and she gets to decide her first stalker. Like, that's a typical go-to thing. That is exactly the sort of thing that would happen in this context if this was going on. And Killian asks who she wants, and she picks. She's betting that's the other thing. There's I think we get the first shot of outside of the arena, and there's this screen up, like a board thing, chalkboard, and they're taking bets outside. Like, all these people, I don't know where they're getting the money from, but they've got enough money to make a good bet, Matt. Like, they seem like they can make as many bets as they can outside. So there's a bet on who she's going to pick. And then I think she says something like, "Well, my husband and son, they have their favorites, but I like my man big and cuddly, Sub-Zero." and all of a sudden, Sub-Zero comes out. And I completely forgot this guy's name was Sub-Zero. And of course, to all the gaming people out there, only one thing comes to your mind. That's Sub-Zero from Mortal Kombat. this is not Sub-Zero from Mortal Kombat by any stretch of the imagination, but we get like a kind of WWF promo. He comes out and he's kind of like with a hockey